All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I've had about enough of this sitting around waiting. We're going to get right into it because it is Wednesday night. It's hump day, and we are going to do 2 full hours of the Paranormal Portal. And I don't know what more you could ask for midweek, but if you want to ask for more, then I'm going to deliver more because I'm not alone. I'm not alone here, folks. I have help. I have my good friend and co-host, the big toe of the Paranormal Portal, Mr. Don Longbeard's here with me.
Oh, geez, I thought we were just listening to music and chilling.
Oh, yeah, we already did that part,
We
Don.
did that part. Now we got to get to the serious
part?
Now
we actually got to show up, yeah.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It's time to stamp the card, as it were.
Speaking of time, we gained that hour this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasted mine. Mine.
How'd you waste your hour?
Well, okay, so, your phone resets itself, right?
Right.
It doesn't matter. Just make sure it's set to, daylight savings, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So I set my clock for 6:30 in the morning the other day. Actually, it was 5:45 or 6:45. I can't remember. It was 6:45. Anyhow, it was Sunday morning. And so I set my phone knowing that my phone would go off at the right time. Mm-hmm. And so, I go to sleep. I sleep really great.
Ooh, cool.
It was awesome. And then my eyes snap open, and I have a clock that projects onto the roof, right? And my eyes snap open. What time is it? It's 7:15. My alarm didn't go off. I was supposed to be to work at 8, right? So I get up, I jump up, and I do the quick wipe down, do the hair, brush the teeth, groom the beard, get my jacket on, poof, out the door I go, right? Half a block later, I go, gosh, it's really dark out. I wonder if God changed the time. Oh, jeez! I stopped, pulled over, looked at my phone. It was like 6:16.
Wow.
Well, geez. So I backed up, went home. Thank God I was only like a half hour, half block away.
Sure.
I was at the railroad tracks there. By my house.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, geez, okay. So I go in and, instead of getting my extra hour of sleep, I drank coffee for another hour.
Yeehaw.
So, yeah, I hope you guys didn't blow your hour on the weekend.
I kind of did because I just slept like crap, so it didn't really matter.
Yeah,
I was up and down all night, and it was like, oh, God, and I finally give up and just come downstairs.
Oh, yeah, it sucks.
So, but, yeah, no, I mean, I hope the rest of you got that restful extra hour. It's,
And if you did, y'all suck. That's what I get for not changing that one clock that I always look at.
The one that you use most of all. Yeah. Well, I don't know about y'all, but we're not going to waste 2 full hours. We're going to get right to the paranormal fun that you've come to love here on the Portal. And just know that throughout the course of the show, if you want to call in, you can. We can answer your calls, as always, here on the Portal. And the number to call in and be a part of the discussion is 720-923-0500. So if you want to call in and share something paranormal of your very own, we'd love to hear from you. And that's how you get in touch with us. So we'll do our best to keep an eye on it. I know that I do okay, but Don's usually my eagle eye when it comes to the call board. So
that's what I still miss them. Oh, look.
Sometimes.
Look, MCAT's been on hold for 15 minutes. Oh, yeah.
Well,
we Ruger's on the phone.
We do our best,
5 minutes.
Yeah, but if it was me, they might be after I actually disconnect the show and then I look over and see the queue.
It's like 5 people in there. You're like, oh, I missed all those opportunities.
Wow, yeah.
Oh, well.
But we got a lot of fun on the deck for you, of course, being it's Wednesday.
Because we're batting 1,000.
We're at least swinging at the ball. I don't know what we're batting, but we're giving it our best. We've got a lot of cool articles to go through tonight. And, of course, before we do anything, I just want to make sure to give out the phone number. And when we, of course, we're going to do the news here shortly. But
the news.
Anything on the front end on that I need? Anything else?
Something we haven't been talking about is the Teespring.
Yes.
So
let's talk about that. I know a lot of you are hankering for some Portal gear.
Hankering for a hunk of Portal.
And by God, we've got exactly what you need right over here on Teespring. If you want to come check out the Paranormal Portal store, then the link is in the description. But this is a great way to help support what we're doing, and you can do that by going over to Teespring. It's actually paranormal-portal.creator.spring-spring.com. Yeah, I already butchered the hell out of that. Let me copy this and I'll just put it in chat. That
There
way
you go.
I can't abuse it anymore.
There you go.
At least not any more than I already have. Let me do this. I'm going to put the link in here, and I'm going to show you what you stand to gain by going and visiting our Teespring site. And I'm actually sporting one of these T-shirts. This one right here.
Oh yeah, that's
the
right.
Rocker
Yeah.
collection. I got that on right now. If you look at the back,
He's a rocker. Oh, he's got the rockers.
I'm rocking the Rocker. So
He's got the maracas.
we are representing here on the show. There are sweatshirts, long sleeve shirts. There are T-shirts. There are mugs. There is stickers. There's all kinds of cool stuff just waiting for you. Even a Rocker mug if you like. If you're into that, or you could get the Rocker collection. I don't know what to call these. Muscle shirts, I guess, is the most politically correct thing to call them. And then we got women's flowy tank tops.
Well, that's a fitted tank. That's a women's
This
fitted.
is the one I was talking about
Yeah,
here.
that's a women's fitted.
I mean, some people call them the wife beaters. It's like, oh, God, that's so...
Yeah, that's the classic tank top.
Classic tank top.
Classic
there we go.
Top. You'll find it
So,
right there. There it is.
There it is. So we got several different options, and we're always interested in releasing more of them as we can. But some of these were developed by a good friend of ours, Thomas Golden. Of tfetch.com. And he designed the Grays and the Black Eyed Kids one, and
the Mayan Pyramid.
The Mayan Pyramid, right there. That's so there's several different options. God, that's kind of creepy, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I never even noticed that before.
Yeah.
Like Black Eyed Kids gator.
Yep.
And the gators, I know a lot of people used them for the coof and all of that, but actually they're kind of handy in the winter.
In the winter, yeah.
Just to keep the cold off your face and still yet get air to breathe. So
and yet pimp the best merch on the web.
I thought this was underwear. I was like,
No, it's. Oh my goodness!
I did. I was like,
It's a
when
mask.
it says "Let me in."
Oh no! You've been like, let me out.
Oh
Let me out.
yeah, no, Jesus. I'm sorry, folks.
Oh my goodness!
I was like, when did we start selling underwear?
Yeah, it
This
does
is a mask,
It
folks.
does kind of look like a pouch, doesn't it?
It does. It looks like tidy whities. It's like, whoa, the marble bags are in. So,
Although it clearly says cloth face mask.
it does. If I would have read the description, I would have never made that mistake. But I'm just saying, this is our Teespring, though, folks. We got a lot of stuff here, and if you've got a suggestion of something you'd like to see in here, please let us know. Okay. I've gotten some suggestions for just the logo on a T-shirt. So that'll be something we'll be putting out there in the near future as well. But anyway, that's a great way to help support what we're doing here on the show, and it means a lot to us if you can do that. If you can, it's the holiday season coming up. Give the person you love a little portal. But that's something that we haven't talked about much. You're right, Don. But I guess the only thing to say right now is I hope you all are ready, because it's getting spooky.
Spooky.
Boom, Don. Do you hear the
Boom.
boom? That boom means we are in action.
The boom in the room.
I'm gonna try to move up a little bit here, so I'm a little closer to the words. Yeah, it's a lot of coiled steel to move forward here in the roller chair on carpeting, so it doesn't work real well. But anyway, folks, we are underway now, as you well are aware, and we are going to start tonight's performance with the news.
The news.
There you go. We're going to get newsed. All right, folks, welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, with my co-anchor, Mr. Don Longbeard, and we're going to bring you the Paranormal Portal News. Nothing says news like the Paranormal Portal. Or at least nobody has news like the Paranormal Portal. It's always a little bit of a of a glitch fest of some kind or another. But first off, we're going to go to an article, of course, from unexplained-mysteries.com, which is one of the premier sites we use for the news, as for obvious reasons. They do a great job and do these amazing short format articles that are a lot of fun to read. And they got every subject that we cover, even some subjects that you wouldn't think we would cover, but we still do. So check out unexplained-mysteries.com at your convenience for some amazing paranormal, supernatural, and oddity kind of reading. The first one is, here's the first article, and this is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. NASA pushes manned-moon landing back to 2025. Did you know that, Don?
I did not know that.
I think
it kind of ticks me off.
Well, I think there was something about the space suits that they needed to give it an extra 5 years or something.
Why? Because the ones they've used for, like since the 60s aren't as good anymore?
I guess, everybody's got to have the newest and the best. It's like you need those Air Jordans to go up there to space. It says the space agency's ambitious plan to land humans on the moon within 3 years has been delayed. Welcome to Washington.
No kidding.
Back in 2019, Vice President Mike Pence announced that U.S. astronauts would walk on the lunar surface within mere 5 years. Wow. Through NASA's ongoing Artemis program. Since then, however, things haven't exactly gone to plan. Earlier this year, it was reported that the new spacesuits would be worn by the astronauts during their trip to the moon would not be ready in time, making the 2024 deadline seem unlikely. Things went from bad to worse when lack of funding, coupled with a legal dispute between NASA, SpaceX, and Blue Origin, also delayed the completion date of the new lunar lander. As expected, therefore, NASA Administrator Bill Nelson has now confirmed that the mission to land astronauts on the lunar surface has been pushed back to 2025 at the earliest. At the earliest, Don.
At the earliest.
Yeah. Returning to the moon as quickly as safely as possible is an agency priority, he said. However, with the recent lawsuit and other factors, the first human landing under Artemis is likely no earlier than 2025. The legal issues stem from NASA awarding the contract to build the lunar lander to SpaceX, a decision that Blue Origin's Jeff Bezos hotly contested because he argued that NASA had previously stipulated that that the contract would be awarded to more than one bidder. Oh, nice.
It's not fair.
Ego, party of one. The decision to award it solely to SpaceX ultimately came down to an unexpected funding shortfall. Not all is lost, however, as the first uncrewed test mission of NASA Orion spacecraft and Space Launch System is still scheduled to take place sometime next year. We should also see a manned moon landing in the not-too-distant future. It will simply take a little longer than NASA had previously anticipated. So we're going to get back there, apparently, ladies and gentlemen, if you're among those people that believe we were there in the first place. I guess I am. But some people obviously have reservations about that. But I don't know. It just seems to be that they probably went there. But at any rate, we're going to go back, but it's not until 2025. Now, how did some people with basically calculators and a whole lot of engineering willingness and know-how could lob a rocket to the moon, land, come back, and have that all sorted out in 1969? And in the modern day, we can't do it for several years, and we gotta piss and moan about contracts and spacesuits. So welcome to the new world, folks.
That's what happens when you got a few $1 billion in your pocket.
Yeah, there's so much ego involved with all this. It's like, yeah, that's going to be the other side of the whole privatization of space and stuff. Is that, you didn't set it up for proper bidding and blah blah blah, and there's red tape and egos and lawsuits, and it's just gonna. These people are just so full of themselves. But whatever. I don't care. Just keep the Bezos should work on his Prime instead. Maybe that'd be better.
Yeah, I actually worked for them back when they were still a bookstore.
Oh, really?
And it was cool, but now it's just like whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I used to work for them back in like 94, 95 when they were still a bookstore.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that. You and I had never shared that knowledge, but that's kind of cool.
It's part of my hidden past.
Yeah, I understand. You had to go underground after that. So
Yeah, I have to disappear.
Yep. All right. From unexplained-mysteries.com comes another article. And this is new U.S. legislation could revolutionize study of UFOs. It's like, why do we have to legislate the study of UFOs? What the hell? Could they complicate more stuff, maybe? Could they just make anything more untenable and impossible?
And
Let's wrap it
ridiculous.
in 5 layers of bureaucracy and see how that works.
Well, this red tape is so pretty.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh my God, just look at the sky. You know, how difficult does this have to be? Congress is preparing to debate a historical amendment that could transform the U.S. government's approach to UFOs. Historically, the U.S. government's approach to researching the UFO phenomena has been far from open. Programs designed to study UFOs have typically been secretive, classified affairs, with information only being released in recent years through Freedom of Information Act requests. This could soon be set to change, however, thanks to an upcoming amendment, the 2022 National Defense Authorization Act, or NDAA, that has been put forward by Senator Kirsten Gillibrand. The amendment seeks to fundamentally change the government's approach to UFO research, shifting it instead towards transparency and objective scientific analysis. In addition, the amendment will require the government to submit unclassified annual reports on the phenomena, meaning that its findings at any given year could be made available to everyone. The Department of Defense and other U.S. intelligence agencies would also require that UFO data be shared with the government's UFO research arm, which is the Anomaly Surveillance and Resolution Office. God, do they have like an acronym department?
Of course they do. It's a bowl of alphabetical soup.
Yeah, we just need more letters. Any attempts to block or restrict access to such data should be reported to Congress. UFO research would be carried out in collaboration with other agencies such as NASA and the Federal Aviation Administration, as well as with international partners overseas. Another interesting change in the amendment is the widening of the definition of UFOs to include transmedium objects, which are described as objects or devices that are observed to transition between space and the atmosphere, or between the atmosphere and bodies of water. There are also calls to better investigate the link between UFO sightings and nuclear weapons. Boy, that doesn't sound good, does it? There's a link they want to investigate, Don.
Yeah.
As well as a requirement to report on any government efforts to capture or exploit recovered UFOs. Right. That's why they use black projects. It's not actually the government, it's subcontractors. Which might help to put rumors of captured alien technology to bed once and for all. Nope, it won't. I mean, you've got this implies people have a trust in government, which right now couldn't possibly be lower. Well, it could possibly, but it's at a historic low, no question. The amendment even requires the establishment of a new 25-person aerial transmedium phenomena advisory committee, Don.
Wow.
To help investigate and analyze the evidence. If this all sounds too good to be true, well, it might not be, because the NDAA is a critical must-pass law, and word has it that the amendment has a realistic chance of passing. It will certainly be interesting to see exactly what happens if it actually does pass.
I know what's going to happen.
Well, yeah, it's just going to get buried in bureaucracy like everything else.
It'll get handed to the TTBSA.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, because they're already in bed with each other anyway. I don't know. It's another bunch of garbage. It's just wrapping bureaucracy and red tape onto another part of this phenomena and trying to, and quite honestly, nothing will change, because all they have to do is use the secret passcode, which is national security. It's a matter of national security. And all of this is null and void, and it goes into restricted and classified, and it's just there's just it's way too easy to bury this information.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't see that changing anything. But I guess if they have committees and groups and they come up with new acronyms, it makes everybody feel better. What about you, Don? Do you feel better with a good new acronym?
The thing is I can spell it. I just can't remember it.
Yeah, that's true.
The only one I remember anymore is the TTBSA.
Yes, that's probably all you need to know.
Dong, ding dong.
This one was one that was actually posted as well. It was posted in the Discord. And this is apparently a camper caught this weird creature on camera. Either it's a creature or a pervert of some kind. But at any rate, let's check out this article coming from unexplained-mysteries.com.
Well, that would be a creeper, not a creature.
Yeah, well, it very well might be. It's a creeper or creature caught on camera during camping trip. This is from November 9th, 2021, so it's brand new.
Yeah, yesterday.
Yep. A woman who had been camping in England last summer managed to capture this eerie photograph in the middle of the night. The unnerving image recently came to light thanks to a YouTuber, Mr. MBB333, who received, you know that guy?
Yeah, he does some pretty cool stuff.
Okay. Who received an email from a man who had obtained the photograph from a partner of a family friend.
Oh my God, from my mother's cousin's brother's sister's dog.
Yeah.
That's a lot of hands right there.
Yeah, it is. According to the email, the woman had been sleeping in her tent during a camping trip to a site in Edenbridge, Kent, back in the summer of 2020, when she was awoken by a strange noise. It was around 3 a.m. and still dark outside, so when she looked out, she was unable to see anything in the gloom. Grabbing her camera, she took a few pictures using the flash to illuminate her surroundings. When she checked the photographs, one of them seemed to show an unidentified creature perched in a tree next to the campsite. While it's difficult to make out exactly what the creature is, or even if it's a creature at all, the photograph is certainly creepy. You can check out the video below. Skip to around 1:45 to view the segment about the photograph. Could this be a real creature in case of pareidolia or a simple hoax? You decide. I think it's probably a person. And the reason I'm thinking that, obviously it looks like a person. And it's, huh?
You want to play it?
Play it? I don't know if I do. I guess we can play it. We'll just go to 1:45 as they stated. Let's kill that and let's do this. What did they say, 1:38?
1:45.
1:45. Okay, so here we go. And this is Mr. BBB333's channel with some ads for... There's zooming in on the map to check out the actual location, which is apparently there where the red dot is. Conveniently placed red dot. He might have had some planning involved.
Oh, we might not be able to... Because it's the discussion that's segment about the photograph, yeah. So it's really about the audio at this point. They're going to show the picture.
There's the picture.
They're going to talk about it.
It looks like there's a foot in that crook of the tree, though. That's why I'm thinking it's just a person.
Like somebody standing.
Yeah, he jumped up there quick because he's being a creepy guy. Probably running around in very little clothing or not. I'll
be a branch.
Yeah. So at any rate, this is the image, but. Below on this, where this fork tree comes together, you can see a foot in there. So I think it's just a guy up there balancing and going, "Oh God, almost got busted," you know. And one leg is bent up in this fork here.
Like he's hiding his crotch.
Yeah,
creeper.
He ran out of fig leaves.
Creeper.
So yeah, I think it's a creepy guy. It's probably what it is. The proportions are definitely human, not like a woodwose or a...
It looks like an RV park.
Yeah, I think it probably is.
Thanks,
what I thought was interesting, though, is that this is from last year, 2020, and I didn't know they had any camping going on. I thought everybody was locked down in 2020.
Yeah, well, you know.
Well, everybody that was doing...
From Etheridge, Kent, that was in the UK, right?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, this is in UK.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good, you?
Yeah, I'm being violated here.
Oh, Anubis came in to say
Hi,
hello.
How are you?
He loves snuggling Don. He's definitely Don's buddy. But yeah, there's apparently a creepy guy hanging out at a campground, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think this is a cryptid. The body proportions are very human. I don't think the height is that abnormal or anything like that. I think it's just some guy that got busted creeping around being I don't know, a psycho, and he just jumped into a tree. This tree, as in the bigger picture, you can see that the tree's not like way up there. It's just a forked tree that's just a little bit above the. But you can see his foot down here. If
tree hugging in the buff, gonna need splinters removed.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't like fireman pole down that deal.
Oh gosh, yeah. This one time in gym class.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god.
That's how it goes sideways, folks. So there you have it. I don't know what to make of it.
Sorry, we can't remove those splinters. They're too close to an old growth forest and waste disposal.
Yeah. All right, let's go to the next one. This is another NASA news coming right up because we love some NASA news. This one is again from unexplained-mysteries.com. NASA administrator discusses Navy pilot UFO sightings. Well, what the hell is this, 2014?
Yeah, why are we still going around about the same thing here?
Because NASA is trying desperately to embed themselves in this discussion.
True, yeah.
They are desperately trying to become a key factor in these discussions.
Well, if they wanted to be a key factor in these kind of discussions, they should have had these discussions 20 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Now they're just trying to
talk
about it. And I don't know, maybe we shouldn't even read this. I mean, screw that idiot.
Yeah.
During a recent interview, Bill Nelson briefly touched on the question of whether or not we were being visited by aliens. The former Florida senator, who was assigned the role of NASA administrator back in May, offered a surprisingly lengthy response when asked by students about the topic of UFOs during an interview with politics professor Larry Sabato earlier this week. In particular, the students wanted to know his thoughts on the U.S. Navy pilot sightings of UAPs during training exercises off the coast of the United States. I've talked to these pilots and know that they saw something and their radar's locked onto it, Nelson replied, and they don't know what it is, and we don't know what it is. We hope it's not an adversary here on Earth that has that kind of technology, but it's something, and so this is a mission that we're constantly looking. Who's out there? Who are we? How did we get here? What's my motivation? Where's my home address? He goes total old man. Sorry, that was me just embellishing a bit here. It says, how did we become as we are? How do we develop? How did we civilize? And those are some questions out there in the universe that has billions of other suns and billions of other galaxies. So it's large. I can't conceive it. Now there are even theories that there might be other universes. That's not a theory.
It's not a theory, it's a fact.
Yeah, this guy should be in charge of the
vending machine.
Yeah, the pantry, the bread pantry or something. This guy's a knucklehead. And if that's the case, who am I to say planet Earth is the only location of a life form that is civilized and organized like ours? Nelson also discovered NASA's DART asteroid interception mission. Way out there, way out there, there's going to intercept this asteroid, and DART is going to hit it at 15,000 miles an hour, and we're going to see if we can ever, even so slightly, move its trajectory. Yeah, they're probably going to cause an Earth collision just with their dicking around. But anyway, I'm all done talking about these idiots. I'm just all worn out of NASA. You know? It kind of gets old. They're just, I don't know, they're just trying to be relevant, I guess. Ever since SpaceX and
them pushing back the new manned space.
Yeah, their little
shot,
namby-pamby organization. This is the next one that we're going to discuss tonight. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, these guys, they're just incompetence.
They're no milk toast.
That's how you justify funding, ladies and gentlemen.
Right.
Is you just try to get involved in everything possible. Yeah. And with a bureaucracy, these bureaucracies, especially, they always are angling for funding. Yeah. Always. It's just like politicians are always campaigning.
They're trying to find the right angle.
Yeah, exactly. And these organizations are always angling for funding and doing everything they can to get more. Traditional fairies kidnapped children and drank human blood.
What?
Yeah, this is a little bit bigger.
Wow.
Yeah, but it is kind of cool
fairies.
because it talks about traditional fairies and granted, the traditional fairy lore is not sweet.
No, it's not Tinkerbell.
It's not Disney at all. It's actually pretty dark and macabre and twisted. But it says, forget Tinkerbell. The fairies of folklore in centuries past were nothing like those in today's stories. When most people think about fairies, they perhaps picture a sparkling Tinkerbell from Peter Pan or other heartwarming and cute fairies and fairy godmothers that populate many Disney movies and children's cartoons, but these creatures have much darker origins and were once thought to be more like undead blood-sucking vampires. In The Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fauns, and Fairies in 1682, folklorist Robert Kirk argued that fairies are the dead, or of a middle nature betwixt man and angels. This association is particularly prominent in Celtic lore. Mm-hmm. Writing in 1887, Lady Jane Wilde popularized the Irish belief that fairies are the fallen angels who were cast down by the Lord God out of heaven for their sinful pride. And the devil gives to these knowledge and power and sends them on earth where they work much evil.
No.
No, I don't think so either. But, people and their ideas. At first sight, the current innocent idea of fairyland seems as far away from the shadowy realms of the dead, and yet there are many resemblances between them. Despite their wands and glitters, fairies have a dark history and surprisingly gothic credentials. So why did we lose our fear of fairies, and how did they come to be associated with childhood? When J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan debuted in the early 1900s, it was widely believed that in society at the time that fairies were inhabited a shadowy spirit world, fascinated by angels, ghosts, and vampires. Victorians, subsequently Edwardians, increasingly saw fairies as the souls of the dead. Rather than dispelling fairies, the First World War and the loss of many loved ones heightened a belief in airy spirits and occult methods in communicating with them. However, due to Peter Pan's great success and the prominent pixie character of Tinkerbell, the creatures would eventually lose their malevolence as they became confined to the nursery. Barrie famously equated the origin of fairies with children. When the first baby laughed, its laugh broke into 1,000 pieces, and that was the beginning of fairies. This is far from the malevolent fairies in their shadowy history and folklore. In these stories, they steal children, drive people insane, blight cattle and crops, and drink human blood. Barrie, of course, was aware of their dark side. Despite the fairy dust and glamour, Tinkerbell is dangerous and vengeful like a deadly fairy temptress. At one point in the story, she even threatens to kill Wendy. Peter Pan, or the Boy Who Would Not Grow Up, debuted on stage at Christmas in 1904 and was inspired by performing fairies in popular shows such as Seymour Hick's Bluebell in Fairyland. Peter Pan was canonized in Disney in 1953, and the sentimental celluloid fairy was born. The cutesy and youthful fairies of contemporary children's TV are a result of this Disneyfication. But in folklore, fairies are often demonic or undead force, in one which humans need to seek protection against. As folklorist Catherine Briggs had noted in her Dictionary of Fairies, she wrote, "People walking alone by night, especially through fairy-haunted places, had many ways of protecting themselves. The first might be sacred symbols by making the sign of a cross or carrying a cross, particularly one made of iron, by prayers or the chanting of hymns by holy water sprinkled or carried, and by carrying and strewing churchyard mold in their path. Bread and salt were also effective, and both were regarded as sacred symbols, one of life and the other of eternity. What is more, fairyland has a hunger for human food. This links fairies to the vengeful dead and to vampires. In early accounts, vampires are defined as the bodies of the dead animated by evil spirits, which come out of their graves in the night, suck the blood of the living, and thereby destroy them. As an entry in the Oxford English Dictionary from 1734 noted, Diane Purkis's story of fairies includes a Scottish Highland legend, which warns that you must bring water into the house at night so that the fairies don't quench their thirst on your blood. Very old fairies, like vampires, were said to wrinkle and dry up without fresh blood. The Baoban Sith are vampiric Scottish fairies. It is actually S-I-T-H, huh? These beautiful green banshees have hooves instead of feet. They dance with and exhaust their male victims, then tear them to pieces. Like many fairies, they can be killed with iron. Deargdu, the Irish vampiric fairies, or red bloodsuckers, they were thought to be influential on Sheridan Le Fanu's female vampire tale Carmilla in 1871. Halloween is supposed to be a time when the veil between our world and the shadow world is extremely thin, a time when you're more likely to hear stories of encounters between humans and fairies. So if this Halloween you go seeking winged friends, warning to the curious, they might not be as sweet as you think. Tread carefully and never enter a fairy ring. Circles of mushrooms, they are believed to have been created by fairies dancing in rounds, according to folklore. If you do happen to step into such a circle of mushrooms, you may become invisible and be made to dance around until you die of exhaustion. So a healthy fear of fairies is always wise. Well, I'm here to tell you the fairy ring is not true, because I would have disappeared like every week over the summer as I mowed my lawn. I got a big fairy ring in the lawn.
No kidding.
Yeah, but they're great mushrooms. They have these little mushrooms in there. You just cut them, you saute them with some butter and some onions and stuff. Oh my God, they're incredible, delicious, mind you.
Thank you, Truth Hip Hop.
Yeah,
Much
thank
love
you.
from me and DJ Big Red 210 in San Antonio. We're both donating together tonight. Keep
Woo!
y'all, love y'all. Keep up the great work.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. That's very kind.
Wow, that's awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely
Sirs.
awesome. Thank you both. All right, let me make sure I'm on the right screen here, and we're going to continue to the next one.
So yeah, I mean, but you know, it's amazing how our folklore has such, you know, even grim fairy tales. You
Yeah.
know, they're not cutesy little.
They're not
mermaids.
bedtime stories for little
As a
children.
matter of fact, the cutesy little mermaid one that she actually ended up like getting eaten by a shark or something like that.
Oh, really?
She ended up dead. That's for sure.
Oh man,
Can't remember how.
But she was supposed to kill the prince, but she didn't, and I know that's part of it too.
Well, it's because she did fall in love with him. But anyway.
It's that love stuff.
Yeah.
That'll get you in trouble every time.
Yeah, it's overrated.
Well, let's check out the next story, which is pretty unusual. This one is kind of fun. Yeah, no, even more than the other ones.
Wow.
This is from unexplained-mysteries.com, folks, and this is video of floating broom goes viral on TikTok. There it is. There's the picture right there on the screen.
I have to find this.
A short clip of what appears to be a broomstick floating in midair has left a lot of people scratching their heads. The perplexing footage, which is uploaded a few days ago by a delivery driver who goes by the name of the one named Luca on TikTok, shows what looks like a straw broom floating around 40 feet in the air above the road. And that Luca is Lucca, by the way. Resembling a typical witch's broomstick, like something you might expect to find in a Harry Potter movie, the peculiar object seems to sit motionless and with no visible means of propulsion or support. The driver even gets out of his vehicle, showing that it's not simply stuck to the windshield. He also has since emphasized that the footage has not been edited or doctored in any way. Well, that would be incredibly easy to do with a program like Blender, just the CGI.
Right.
Because, I mean, you just got to model that and just color it and make it sit there in the frame. You would probably motion track the frame, too, a little bit, just to make sure it didn't wiggle around with, you know, that it followed the motion of the footage. So what exactly is going on in the clip? Is there really a broomstick hovering in the air? Or is it an optical illusion of some kind? Alternatively, could the whole thing be a clever hoax?
It's videotaped through it's recorded through his window.
But he says he gets out and it's still there. In the article it said that.
Yeah, maybe. I'm looking at it right now, yeah.
There's really no way to know for sure what the truth of the matter is from the video alone. Broomsticks don't just hover in the sky, so either it's a trick of some kind or the footage has been doctored using computer software. Either way, it's certainly intriguing, and as of writing, the clip has been viewed over 8 million times. Well, we can look at that. That's just a TikTok, right? So let's see what it says.
I'm looking at it right now, and it's got 1.7 million hearts.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's been viewed over 8 million times, but it's not playing at all. It's not working. So
It's right here.
yeah, Don's got it on his
It doesn't work.
on his phone.
I'll share it on my TikTok.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
So you
for
can
me.
find me on TikTok. It's all one word, Don Longbeard. Go find me. It's pretty
See if
hard.
It comes up. Oh, there we go.
Let's see. I guess I'll do that and add to favorites.
Hey, so out making deliveries, and what is this? There's a floating broom.
There it is, folks.
Look.
There's the broom.
Look, it's just floating. Like, seriously.
Huh.
There's no wire. There's nothing it's connected to. It's... What is that?
Get the snitch.
Harry, I told you not to park in
Seriously.
midair.
Yeah.
He fell off again.
It's just... and it's moving, too.
That long bottom, he just can't stay on the broom.
There you go, folks. That's the floating broomstick. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool. I do believe there's magic in the world. Don't get me wrong, but I don't expect to see it on TikTok.
They better get Hermione. Somebody, Digger Dog says, "Where's Harry Potter? We need him." They need Hermione, not
Arresto
Harry.
momentum.
Yeah, no doubt. Stop.
I mean, God loved the idea that there's a Hogwarts somewhere, and
Yeah.
and all this stuff is could be real, but I don't think it'd be on TikTok, folks. So Just saying, that's probably more than likely it's been, doctored in some way, because that would really be a pretty easy thing to affix to the sky and make it look like it's actually part of the 3D space, especially with that detail level. You don't really have to worry about lighting or anything like that because it's an overcast kind of day. So could it be? I guess anything's possible. As always, folks, anything's possible. And I will never say something is impossible, but I think more than likely this is just a clever hoax, but a cool hoax. If it's real, awesome. Where's the flying people? I'm ready. Yeah. Give me my broom. I'm ready to go check it out.
Well, all you got to do is go to Chicago O'Hare or somewhere like that. You want flying humanoids?
Yeah,
there you go.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
They got them all in Chicago.
There is a lot going on in Chicago and the whole Great Lakes triangle over there. That's pretty crazy stuff. But
you said it right there, triangle.
Yeah, I mean it's called that because there's a triangle over in the East Coast somewhere in the Hampshire or something.
Strange stuff always happens in the triangles.
Yeah, it seems to. Yeah, but that's a cool article again.
Spirit Stalker says that broom needs to come sweep my floor since it's not busy.
I know.
Yeah, it's just out there hanging around.
Mickey's got it mopping up the
no doubt,
tower. Yeah. The Wizard's Tower, of course, Fantasia. Let's get to the next and last article of tonight's News Fest. This has been a long news fest. I don't know. I just had a lot to pull from, so I just pulled a bunch. Here's a cool one, and I think we covered something about this several months ago, but I just want to see what this article said. And it is coming from unexplained-mysteries.com. Water witches pit science against folklore. Of course, they're talking about dowsing, ladies and gentlemen, which is a technique used by many, many people. The idea is you can douse for whatever you want, but most often they were called water witches because most commonly it was used to find well locations and stuff. And,
as a matter of fact, I was just talking to a guy just yesterday. He said he had a water witch come out and witch for his... And sure enough, it was exactly where he said.
Yeah.
It was 750 feet down, but it was there.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. It says, can dowsers really find water sources on nothing but a wooden stick, or is dowsing a centuries-long con? The demand for dowsing, the age-old practice of using either a forked stick or two metal rods to locate hidden resources under the ground, has been on the rise in recent years, mostly due to the extreme droughts that have hit parts of the United States and the desperation of the people affected by them. Dowsing is thought to have originated in the 15th century Germany, where it was first used to find precious metals. However, it soon became synonymous with the hunt for hidden sources of water. While scientists these days tend to shun the practice as nothing more than pseudoscience, dowsing is still proving popular, especially in the worst-hit regions of California, where some farmers have come to rely on the efforts of dowsers to locate water for their crops. The jury's still out, however, on whether or not dowsing actually works in the way that it is implied. There's been at least some research testing on the dowser's skills, said Todd Jarvis of Oregon State University, and for every study that says there's nothing to it, there's a study that says there's something to it.
Right.
In an article on his website, the United States Geological Survey writes, the natural explanation of successful water dowsing is that in many areas water would be hard to miss. The dowsers commonly implies that the spot indicated by the rod is the only one where water could be found, but this is not necessarily true. In a region of adequate rainfall and favorable geology, it is difficult not to drill and find water. While there is little doubt that some dowsers do achieve success when searching for water, it's going to take some pretty strong evidence to convince the scientific community that this is down to anything other than random chance. Now, I did see some percentages that were done and quite fascinatingly, and I don't know whatever happened to that article. It's on an old episode, but the dowsers were actually doing better than the more modern techniques. Percentage-wise, they were more often right on the money than the multi-million-dollar equipment used to plot wells and stuff. And so I thought that was fascinating. But again, it was a standalone article. I don't know how to substantiate that, or if it is legitimate. I thought it was, and it's supposed to have been. But I think there is something to this stuff, folks.
I do too. Yeah.
I think that people we are incredible beings of potential. And we don't have any clue what we're capable of. But this would be one of those old ancient holdouts that still remains relevant today. And I think that's powerful in and of itself, that it's a practice that is still used. And it's used a lot in gold dredging and such too. A lot of the gold dredgers use dowsing to figure out where to start looking. So take it or leave it. It's up to you. Again, the portal's not about changing your mind or making you think anything.
It's about expanding your mind and making you wonder,
yes,
is that possible?
Asking the questions, I think, is the key.
There you go.
So, there it is. Some water dowsing.
The news.
The news. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a production of the Paranormal Portal News. Let's get on with the rest of the party, huh? All right, here we go.
He said potty.
Party. Go park the car.
Go park the car.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was a production of the Paranormal Portal News. We hope you enjoyed that broadcast as we move back into our regularly scheduled 2-hour program tonight, which is now down to, wow, an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow.
That was a long news fest.
It was. It was actually pretty nice.
Okay.
I really enjoyed the story about the fairies.
I do too. I think that's pretty, well, it's twisted. I kind of like the happy fairies better, but
well, let's be real.
But I'm with you. I mean, the traditional lore is nothing like the romanticized Disney versions. That's for sure. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into tonight, folks. And the first one tonight is an article that I found from animalien.com, and I found this actually last week. And we read another one about some Russian military operations where they were diving in one of their inland lakes and ran into these 10-foot tall beings in white suits. They tried to capture it, and all 5 divers were ejected from deep water all the way out. They were thrown out. They had to push them all into one decompression chamber, the only one that worked.
Wow.
And all but one of them died from decompression sickness.
What?
Yeah.
See what I miss?
I know. There's lots of good stuff happening. Now, this is the second story that I found, and I don't know. I don't think this is the same one, but I think I've heard this one before, and it's very, very interesting. So let's check out this one, and this is coming from animalien.com, and it is the story of Russian scientists who battled creature under Arctic ice. For the first times, the tabloid express.co.uk told about this case and published an article titled, "Is 14-Legged Killer Squid Found 2 Miles Beneath Antarctica Being Weaponized by Putin?" Later, this news was published by the Russian media. Since in Russia, all stories with the inexplicable are strictly classified, we cannot say that this is a real case, but as is often the case, there may be some truth in every story. A defecting Russian scientist has surfaced with a mind-bending account of what really occurred when he and his colleagues went missing for 5 days in a mysterious 12,366 feet beneath the Antarctic ice.
Wow.
Dr. Anton Padalka told authorities in Switzerland that the researchers discovered a bizarre and deadly life form dubbed Organism 46B, a highly intelligent octopus-like creature that claimed the lives of 3 of the team members. But the government of Russia, President Vladimir Putin, claimed that nothing of scientific interest was found because the former KGB strongman hopes to weaponize the organism. The discovery of such unusual life in Lake Vostok was the most important scientific breakthrough in decades, but we were ordered not to divulge it because of Mr. Putin's sinister scheme, the whistleblowing geologist told the Swiss. And there's an image of them going through the ice to get to the water below. And it says, it was early February 2012 that members of the Russian Antarctic expedition succeeded in drilling through more than 2 miles of thick ice to Lake Vostok, a project that took more than 30 years because the freshwater lake has been sealed off from the rest of the world for between 15 and 34 million years. Scientists had predicted that they would find new species that had evolved far differently than any seen before. According to our research, the quantity of oxygen there exceeds that in other parts of our planet by 10 to 20 times. Wow. Any life forms that we find are likely to be unique on Earth. Sergei Bulat, the project's chief scientist, said on Russian television as the geologists were drilling down. Previously, extremely weird creatures had been found in deep-sea vents off the coast of Antarctica, including hairy-chested yeti crabs that feed on gardens of bacteria they cultivate on their bodies, and carnivorous 7-armed sea stars that can catch and kill those crabs. Just as the eight-man team neared the lake, all communication from the outside world mysteriously ceased. As days crept by and the researchers failed to respond to increasingly frantic efforts to reach them by radio, fellow scientists worldwide feared the worst. And it says, no word from the ice for 5 days, Dr. John Priskew, a professor of ecology at Montana State University and head of a similar Antarctic exploration program, grimly told Fox News at the time, I can only imagine what it's like. Or maybe he couldn't. Dr. Padalka claims that during his time, he and his colleagues were fighting for their lives in the lost world deep beneath the Earth's surface. We encountered organism 46b on day 1 as we were conducting a preliminary dive in our low-temperature water suits, he recounts. It disabled our radio, which we later learned, to our alarm, was intentional. Although the creature has 14 arms instead of the usual 8, it kills in a similar manner to an ordinary octopus, seizing its prey, injecting it with paralyzing saliva, then dismembering it into small pieces with its beak. But organism 46b has another trick up its sleeve. It is able to paralyze prey at a distance of up to 150 feet by releasing its venom into the water from an organ similar to an ink sac, explained Dr. Padalka. Tragically, my colleague and lifelong friend, Dr. Vindogradov, was killed this way. He tread water wearing a blissful smile as the organism approached him. We watched helplessly as it used its arms to tear off its head, then pop the remains into its mouth. It was as if it had hypnotized him telepathically. The 33-foot-long man-eater also boasts extraordinary camouflage that helped it stalk the researchers. Many species of octopus can alter their appearance, usually to avoid larger predators, Dr. Padalka explained. Sacs of colorful pigments called chromatophores allow them to change colors, and by contracting their muscles, they can blend in with the smooth ocean floor or a craggy coral reef. The well-known mini octopus can contort its boneless body to take on the shape of sea snake or a stingray.
Mimic.
Yeah, yep. A mimic, yeah. Mimic octopus. But the shape-shifting abilities of organism 46b sound almost diabolical. It shaped itself into the form of a human diver. We thought it was one of my colleagues swimming towards us in scuba gear, but by the time the closest scientists realized what it was, it had grabbed him and torn him to bits. And if an arm of an ordinary octopus is cut off, the severed limb will crawl away, sometimes even seize prey, and place it in the mouth of the octopus. Experts say that's because each arm contains a cluster of neurons, essentially its own brain. The arms of organism 46b demonstrated a chilling knack for operating autonomously. After our sole female researcher chopped off one of the arms with an axe, the severed limb yanked the weapon out of her hands, recalled the scientist. That night the arm slivered onto the icy bank where we were sleeping, and it strangled her.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, the experts believe that not only does the octopus regenerate its limbs, the brainy severed tentacle may be able to form a new octopus. Octopuses are extraordinarily intelligent, able to negotiate mazes, use tools, and even build structures with Legos. The newly discovered entity is in a class by itself. From the way it adapted each time we changed our tactics, we became convinced it is at least as intelligent as an average human, Dr. Padalka revealed. If we were not all PhDs, I fear it would have been in the end outwitted us.
Yeah, because it takes somebody with a buttload of school to figure it out, right? I mean, common sense says stay the hell away.
Yeah, the common sense says go back up that tunnel and call it a day. But good thing they're PhDs. Miraculously,
the eggheads.
Miraculously, the eggheads were able to capture the creature in a tank. After the 5 surviving scientists made their way to the surface, the program's director ordered that the borehole be immediately plugged. The geologists expected to be honored internationally for their amazing find. To their great disappointment, however, the Russian government claimed that the team had found no life in Lake Vostok and denied that divers had even entered the water. There's nothing much down there, I can assure you, according to a statement by the chief of the Vostok Research Station, A.M. Yeligin, the director of Russian Antarctic Expedition. Valery Lukin admitted that the plug had been put in place but called the precaution routine. U.S. and British experts were puzzled by the announcement. It's a little bit of an anticlimax, geologist Dr. David L. McEnroy of the UK said on TV at the time. It's hard to believe that we were so wrong about there being unusual life down there. Dr. Padalko claims he fled his native country in July after learning to his horror that the government is planning to put the discovery into military use. Some species of octopus lay 200,000 eggs, he pointed out. Imagine if they were deposited in reservoirs and lakes across North America. The Russian government called the whistleblower's claims preposterous. It is laughable, ho, 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 declared Mikhail Belochkin of the Bureau of Truthful Information. They got a Bureau of Truthful Information done.
Yeah, well, yeah.
It sounds like something you might see on one of your science fiction TV channels. The Cold War is over, my friends. If our scientists made a discovery of such magnitude, do you seriously doubt that we would share it with the world?
Yes.
I think any government probably would. It's not unique to the Russian government.
No, it's not. It's unique to anybody who wants to hold power.
Yep, exactly. So,
but it started out saying something about a squid and turned into an octopus?
No, I mean, they were, well, I don't know.
It said something about,
let me see.
It said something about squid. Creature.
14-legged killer squid.
Yeah.
Found too much. Yeah, you're right. So they transformed the genus of it a bit through the narrative here, but
they did. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, folks. That's an interesting one, and this is not one I've heard of before. So I was wrong.
You know what? It was originally written in Russian, so it's probably lost in translation.
Sure.
Even though squid and octopus are two separate things in every language, but whatever.
I just call them calamari.
It's like the difference between "for" and the word "death" in Chinese.
That's right. But I just call it calamari. That's my distinction.
That's calamari is specifically squid.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise, that's the only one I really want to deal with.
Oh no! Oh no! If you haven't had good octopus is good.
I don't know if I've had like sometimes those legs are so rubbery and stuff. It's like chewing on a rubber band.
It's overcooked. Yeah.
It's like, oh come on, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like bad gum. When it gets really old, it's really hard.
like the old sticks of bazooka that were in your baseball cards.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a sheet of gum.
Yeah, it's like
you crunch it and it's like shards of it in your mouth until it kind of coalesces. Yeah, it's pretty disgusting. Pretty disgusting, but pretty interesting article, folks. And hope you like that. Now I'm going to move on to this one. This is an article from our good friend, Mr. Brent Swanser. And we love covering his work because the guy's second to none as far as paranormal journalism is concerned. But he lives in Japan, but he writes for mysteriousuniverse.org. And definitely check out mysteriousuniverse.org as well. But Brent Swanser's work is amazing. And he's, we're honored to call him a friend, as well as having utmost respect for his work. But you can find Brent Swanser on Facebook by going to Dark League Paranormal. That's his group, and I can't encourage you enough to get involved over there because it's a great group, and they do just lots of game kind of stuff throughout the week too, including weekends. They go and post their favorite movie clips and stuff. It's a lot of fun. Just a really neat community of people. So get involved over there. Again, Dark League Paranormal. And speaking of Facebook, follow us, facebook.com/Paranormal Portal Radio. And of course, the Paranormal Portal fans page is another Facebook page that we would love to see you involved in. But let's get into this. And this is some weird vanishings in Yosemite National Park. And of course, this is a brand new article from November 7th, 2021. So it's just off the presses, Don.
Hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses. Huh. So we're going to read this now and see what he's got to share with us. But again, his articles are amazing. Do you remember when we were just at this for a very short time? And within a very short period of time, we got to be able to recognize his work.
His work just by reading it.
Just by reading it. It's like, God, that's got to be a Brent Swanser. You're like, yep, it's a Brent Swanser.
It's Brent Swanser.
We could just tell because of the effort he puts into his articles is way head and shoulders above 99% of what's out there. But Mysterious Universe has a bunch of fantastic authors over there, including Nick Redfern and Paul Seberg. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of great other contributors over there as well. So check out mysteriousuniverse.org if you get a chance. If you're looking for the paranormal, supernatural, Fortean topics, that's the place. But let's get this. Some weird vanishings in Yosemite National Park. And this will be probably, I imagine, coming along the heels of David Paulides' work. But let's check it out. Sprawled out over 4 counties and covering an area of around 756,620 acres, or 1,187 square miles, or 3,074 kilometers squared, of wilderness in the Sierra Nevada mountains of California is the world's most famous Yosemite National Park. With its myriad of mountains, lakes, glaciers, granite cliffs, meadows, canyons, rare geological formations, diverse forests, and waterfalls, it is a biodiversity hotspot. With many species of flora and fauna, many unique to the region, that attracts droves of visitors from all over the world. For the millions of tourists who visit every year, the trip will be a magnificent nature experience full of grandeur and pristine vistas. But for some, it will be different, for Yosemite National Park also seems to sometimes pull people in to never return. In July 1981, 14-year-old Stacy Ayres, along with her father and a group of 7 others, went on a horseback riding trip to the Yosemite National Park. Their destination was the picturesque Sunrise Meadows area, where on July 25th they stopped to rest at a place called Sunrise High Sierra Camp. Where there were accommodations at 9 cabins situated along the rugged 50-mile High Sierra Camp Loop at an altitude of around 9,400 feet. Oof, that's way up there. Above sea level. And they rented a scenic cabin for the night, and Stacy put her things in her room and headed off on a short walk in the general vicinity, not planning to go far. Little did anyone know that this was the last anyone would see of her. That's so sad. During her walk, she went to talk with an older member of the group named Gerald Stewart, who she saw sitting on a log not far away. She was seen to go up to Gerald and talk with him and then take some photos of the surrounding wilderness, and then Gerald would later explain that she had told him she would take a walk to a nearby lake. He offered to join them, and the two walked along surrounded by the peaceful serenity of the area before Gerald got tired and sat down to take a breather. Stacy told him she would explore ahead a bit and be right back. At the time, the others in the group were watching Stacy and Gerald. They watched her walk off casually and go behind some trees, but she never did come back. After some time had passed, with no sign of her, the group at camp ventured out to see what was going on, but they found no sign of her. When they called out to her and got no response and talked to others on the trail who claimed to have seen her, authorities were notified and a more intensive search was launched. The search involved hundreds of people, sniffer dogs, and aircraft, but there was no sign of Stacy Ayres at all, except for the lens of her camera eerily sitting out beside the trail. There was no sign of any struggle along the trail, no evidence of an animal attack, since this was all on easy terrain right next to camp. It was seen as unlikely that she would have gotten lost within seconds like that. It was as if she had just evaporated into thin air. It is unknown just what happened to Stacy Ayres, and she has not been seen since. Another strange vanishing happened on August of 2000 when, on August 14th, a woman named Ruth Ann Rupert came into the Yosemite Medical Clinic in the Curry Village area to be treated for an eye infection around her prosthetic eye. After that, she told everyone she was going on a short hike in the Yosemite Falls area and headed off at a bit after noon. She went off in good spirits but would never be seen again. When she did not return, a massive search was carried out, but not a single trace of her was found. It would not be until 2008 when her backpack would be stumbled upon in a place called Fireplace Creek Drainage, which was an area that had already been meticulously searched, but no other sign of her has ever been found. What happened to her? No one has a clue. On June 15, 2005, 51-year-old Michael Allen Faisery headed out on a solo hike along the north side of the Hetchy Reservoir. And he was an experienced hiker and outdoorsman with over 30 years hiking in wilderness areas. And his route was to hike from Hetchy Reservoir through Rancheria Falls to Till Mountain, Lake Vernon, to return back to the Hetchy. He went out along the relatively hike, oddly deciding to continue along an unplanned trail, but never returned. When he had still not been seen by the 19th, authorities were notified, and his car was found parked at the trail parking lot. A search was carried out, but all that could be found was his backpack near the Till Mountain, just off the trail by the snow line. Dogs were brought in to look for a trail, but could find nothing, and there was an eerie void of any clues. Vicery nor any sign of him have been seen since. Moving along into later years, we have the strange vanishing of 30-year-old George Panka, who on June 17th, 2011, went out on a hike in the upper Yosemite Falls while on an excursion with 80 people in a church getaway. At the time, George was with a group of about 20 other hikers, but at some point, he seems to have been separated from the others, and although no one can seem to remember when exactly this was, what we do know is that he never rejoined them. And when a search was launched, there was no sign of him found. In this case, not a single scrap of clothing, backpack, or any other equipment was ever found. And it remains a puzzling enigma. Lastly, we have the case of 41-year-old Max Schweitzer, who was apparently a clandestine analyst for the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And whether this had anything to do with this strange disappearance or not, it is an odd detail. In January of 2018, Max apparently parked his car at Camp 4 and then disappeared off the face of the earth. The missing man was said to have had some altercations with law enforcement over the years, including ransacking an FBI lobby in 2005 and giving threats to people in 2016. And it has been considered that this may have had something to do with his vanishing. All we know is that he was last seen hiking off into the woods, wearing a sweatshirt, shorts, and a dark-colored backpack. But after this, he's just vanished and never to be seen again. These have just been a selection of some of the sudden and inexplicable vanishings from Yosemite National Park, but there are plenty more where these came from. And we're left to ask why this might be. Why is Yosemite so hungry for people, and how do they so totally disappear? Is this wild animal attacks, foul play, or something altogether more mysterious? No one really knows, and it all serves to add to the lore of strange disappearances that will probably never be solved.
Joe and the Volcano.
Joe and the Volcano?
Yeah.
Tom Hanks?
Yeah.
What?
They had to sacrifice to the so they must have fallen in because what's Yosemite? It's a super volcano that if it ever blew up, we'd all die.
That's Yellowstone.
That's Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I take that back.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah. There might be some sacrificial aspect to this. Did you hear Anubis?
Yeah, he's throwing a fit.
He's being a tool lately. I don't know where all that comes from because he never used to do this.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he's just having fits. He's not outside. Anubis, no. We'll see if that holds.
Yeah, right.
That's always worth a shot. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's a great article. And again, special thanks to Brent Swanser for letting us showcase those on the show.
He didn't mean come in. He said stop.
I just said quiet, you little fuzzball. But yeah, I think those are weird. And again, David Pilatus has made a career out of talking about these weird disappearances.
Yep.
And if you're not familiar with them, check out the Missing 411 stuff. It's absolutely bizarre. There's just no rhyme or reason to what's happening to these people. Sometimes people are found, but they're found in the weirdest of circumstances and usually not alive. But at some point over rough terrain, they'll find the shoes of the person just removed and sitting there right next to each other, like somebody placed them very careful. You know, and this is over rocky terrain and stuff where people's feet just couldn't handle it. So I can't imagine somebody going, hey, I'm not going to need these boots anymore. Let's just leave them here. You know, our feet would get butchered on a lot of these surfaces, but these shoes are being found. Folded clothes have been found. Sometimes people are found deceased, but across impossible terrain, like terrain over mountains, through ridges, miles away at places they couldn't have physically gone
Right.
without special gear. But somehow they managed to traverse these strange, impossible obstacles and to be found, of course, deceased. Sometimes they are found deceased, but their socks are absolutely pristine. Like they weren't barefoot without shoes. They weren't just walking around in their socks. Like their socks are clean, like they were carried. Just really strange stuff, folks. And that includes, recovery efforts, teams of dogs and search parties. And some of these dogs will not track. They will not do it. They're catching some kind of scent that they're like, nope, not touching that. Which really kind of leads me to believe that maybe some of it is cryptid related, because of course, there seems to be a lot of history with cryptids not liking dogs much. And maybe it's because they let us know that they're there. But anyway, very strange stuff. Who knows?
Very strange.
Who knows what it is? I don't pretend to know, but I can tell you that if you ever get a chance, listen to David Politis interviewed, because he really does go into some really cool details about these weird disappearances and what people are, what's happening to these people. At least as many details as he can compile without being able to fill in that final step. What did happen, nobody knows. And David Politis doesn't claim to know either, but something's happening. These people are disappearing and either are never seen again or found in some of the most strange circumstances that defy logic. So, and a lot of times they're found in real obvious places that were really heavily searched. Other times that's come up. It's like
sometimes
really?
20 feet up in a tree.
In a tree, yeah, exactly. Like, how'd that happen? Yep, I don't know, folks. But it's how we roll here on the portal. We talk about it all because we love us some paranormal, you know what I'm saying? I think that's cool stuff.
It is. Yep.
But let's see, what have we got left here?
40 minutes.
Wow, we got 40 minutes. Okay. So with the final remainder of the show, I guess we're going to go through one of these lists. This is coming from Factinate.com, and this is intensely creepy experiences. And some of these, again, I got to put out the disclaimer because sometimes there'll be repetitive things that are found in several different locations. So if you hear a story that we've covered somewhere else,
it's possible.
It's possible. I mean, there's only so many places these are aggregated from, and it doesn't surprise me that several authors grab the same stories,
right? Because
they're good stories. So if we hit one you've heard before, it's not me trying to recycle old articles. It's just the fact that sometimes there's repetition in the paranormal. So these articles surface all over the place, and unfortunately they're so huge I can't screen them because they got 100 and some items in the list. So, but we're on number 11 of the list that we have been covering, and this is again creepy experiences from Factinate.com.
That's factinating.
Why the Factination?
Oh no!
Thank you. All right. Okay. Number 11, The Haunting of Lover's Lane. When I was 19 or so, I was dating this guy. Since we both lived with our parents, we would drive out to abandoned lots to make out.
We were just talking about this.
Yeah. They were necking.
They were naked.
I didn't say naked, I said necking.
That's what I said. It's not my fault you can't hear.
I just put it out there just in case there was anybody missed that. One time we pulled into an old abandoned shopping plaza. A couple of minutes in, I get a very uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
I kept thinking about a man whose hair was on fire.
What?
I don't know how I knew this, but I just sensed that he wanted us to leave.
That's a mood breaker.
My boyfriend noticed I looked scared, and he says, without any prompting from me, I have this weird feeling like someone's watching us, and he's on fire. We booked it out of there so fast, drove by again a few days later during the day, and there were distinct burn marks on the building that we hadn't even noticed before. Yeah, that'll do it.
Wow.
That'll create an angry spirit in a hurry.
Wow. Yeah.
That was by Saurus Rex, the Saurus Rex, instead of Thesaurus. I like that. I like that one. I caught that one.
Thesaurus Rex.
Yeah. Number 12, No Laughing Matter. My dad bought this old rundown house as a fixer-upper, and it was about I was about 8 or 9 at the time, so I couldn't do too much to help him. This one I might have read before, but we'll just continue. But I remember helping him clean out the attic. It was full of tons of old newspapers and toys. And the people must have been hoarders, just tons of toy dolls and cars and all of that. And that creeped me out on its own, but I only found out the real story much later. This is the really scary part. The part my dad waited until we were grown to tell us. One person came by to look at the house when it was near finished and for sale, and she said she really wanted it because it was full of spirits. Well, my dad thought she was wacky, but whatever. That's what she liked. Good for her, I guess. But sometime later, my dad and mom were laying in bed at the house when they hear a woman laughing somewhere in the corridors. They both rolled over and just looked into each other's eyes as they listened. They stayed that way until it stopped, then never talked about it for a long time. They both get chills when they tell that story now. Yep, that's how you stir up some stuff. Just start renovating. Mm-hmm. Start some remodeling. You'll find out.
Back.
It doesn't go there. Oops.
Sorry.
Yeah. Number 13, a visit from the other side. At my dad's funeral, my sister and my aunt and I all sat around the table discussing various things. One of the things we talked about was my cousin's funeral. She passed about 12 years earlier. She got hit by a drunk driver while on vacation. Aww. She was just 10 or 11 years old, and she was going into 5th grade. My sister was 8, and I was 5 at the time. My sister told the story about how she and a friend had gone to play at the playground where my cousin had gone to school. While they were playing, they saw a little girl hanging out around them, but never coming up to them, and never saying anything. Well, both my sister and her friend freaked out. The girl was wearing jean short overalls, a white flowery t-shirt, and had a long brown hair braided into 2 pigtails. I chimed in and said that the girl must be really poor and not able to buy new clothes, because when I would play there, that little girl was still there and she would follow me around the playground. My friends all saw her too, and they thought it was weird, but for some reason, though, she didn't weird me out, and I just thought she was shy and wanted friends. She was always wearing the exact same outfit my sister described and had long brown hair braided into pigtails. And this is when my aunt burst into tears. It turns out that my cousin was buried in a brand new pair of blue jean short overalls and a white tee with flowers on it, and with her long brown hair braided into pigtails. My sister and I now have no doubt that the girl we both saw on the playground was our cousin. Aw, that's so sad. That was by Biscuit Head 8237. Yeah, I mean that's a tough one. These children spirits that are displaced, and it's like, why? I don't get that. Never will, but I guess it happens. Number 14, small difference, big impact. I had a crack in my right tooth a year ago. Now that crack is in my left tooth. I swear to God. It really was in my right, and something about it freaks me out to this day. Sometimes it's those tiny things that stay with you the most. That was by Hosanna Alma. Yeah, that sounds like a Mandela slip, right? Kind of a reality shift.
Yeah.
Instead of one tooth, it's the other tooth, but it's still a cracked tooth.
Right. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know. That sounds pretty bizarre. The breadcrumbs. That's what I'm talking about. Number 15, the midnight visitor. This happened about 2 months ago. I was alone in the house as my parents were away working for the weekend. They were due back that evening, and then my mom texted me to say that they'd broken down and were waiting for a tow truck to pick them up. I asked them if there was anything I could do, but they just told me to go to sleep as they'd probably be back late. Fast forward to 3 a.m. I woke up to use the toilet, and when I left the bathroom, I glanced over to my parents' bedroom. The door was shut, and I could see a light on inside. It had been open and dark when I went to bed, so I thought, oh, they must be home. Well, I stumbled toward the door and remembered stopping myself, thinking, no, I won't go in. I'll just speak to them in the morning. So I turned back towards my room, and I go back to sleep. I awoke to terror. The sound of the front door opening downstairs, and I glanced at the clock. It was 45 minutes after I'd last woken up. I thought it was a bit strange and got a tense feeling in my stomach. I walked out of my bedroom and glanced over to my parents' room, only to see the door open and the light off. The bed was also made so no one had been in it. I felt sick. I went downstairs and nervously asked my mom, "Have you just got home?" And she was like, "Yeah, why?" I just sat there staring into space, wondering what the heck happened. And I'm still wondering right now. That was by the SF91. Yeah, you don't like those doors to be open or closed on their own.
Yeah, that's kind of freaky.
It is. Don't you just wonder, Don, like, what are they doing? You know, I say there's a spirit that's just bound to this location for whatever reason. What are they doing? You know, I mean, it's just nosing through stuff or
mischief. They're just up to mischief.
Yeah, I suppose.
You know, maybe they're looking for something they lost, or maybe they're going
Right.
through your stuff going,
That's a good point.
Who is this? You know,
That's a good point.
What can I find out about them? How can I sell it on the black market? You know, do they have any credit card?
Yeah, take any cash. Yeah, no.
Hey, tell me your PayPal password. No, yeah, it's really strange. It's kind of cool. But I mean, as long as they're not, you know, it's just general mischief, not malicious mischief.
Sure.
You know. Yeah.
See, the thing that I think about is that, did the spirit know this person was waking up and just give them a little clue like that? Like, I'm going to freak him out. You know, is it like intentional?
Right.
Or is it just, oh shoot, that guy got up. Yeah, we'll shut off the light and open the door in a second. You know,
Right.
Something like that. I don't know.
Ghost Magnet says maybe they have left-right confusion, where looking in the mirror, your brain thinks your left in the mirror is left in real life.
Oh, we're talking about the tooth. Yeah.
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 That could be. I mean, it could be
That's
something
true,
like
yeah.
that. I mean, there's always that transposition of things, and you're right. It could be just I don't know, looking at a mirror and then seeing it without a mirror or in a photograph or something. I
Yeah,
don't know.
especially an iPhone,
Yeah.
because everything's upside down, backwards on an iPhone.
That's true. Yep. Well, number 16, Stranger Than Fiction. I was catching a train one day and I found a DVD on a seat. I checked to see if anyone owned it, but the train car was empty, so I stuffed it in my bag, and that night I watched the short film that was on the DVD. In the film, the protagonist found a DVD on train,
Uh-oh.
and later on in the film, he met the star on the DVD that he had found. Fast forward to a few nights later, and I was at a restaurant and saw the actor who played the protagonist. Not quite believing what was happening, I walked up to him and introduced myself and told him I found the DVD of the movie he starred in on the train. Initially, he said something like, "Oh, cool." Then as it sunk in, his face went pale. His mouth gaped, and we both had to have a few drinks to recover. Yeah, that's like real life imitating art. Yeah?
Yeah, it's the whole found footage kind of thing.
Yeah. Probably, yeah, it could very well just be a bunch of bunk.
Well, you know, but it didn't say there was anything weird about it.
Right.
It just said that in the next few days you'll meet the person who made it.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
it's
that's
not
what happened.
exactly- It's not exactly a Ring video, you know.
But that's what happened in the videos. He found a video, watched it. The guy that was
Right.
in the movie found a video on a train. Ended up meeting the person in the movie. And then in real life met that person
Right.
that was in the movie, and it was actually an absolute carbon copy experience. Yeah, pretty cool. That was by C. Mara, too. Number 17, Somebody's Watching Over You. I sure hope so. I think so. But a disembodied voice may have saved my sister's life. When I was about 12, my family lived in my great-grandmother's house. She had passed in that house before my sister and I were even born, but we knew that it was her home, and we were staying in it. I'm sitting in the front room as my sister walks toward the front door, and she suddenly stops and turns to me. "What did you say?" she asked. But I hadn't said anything. I was sitting quietly with my headphones on, and we're looking at each other confused, and suddenly a car spins out in the street in front of our house. The driver regains control and takes off at a high speed again. My sister was about to walk to her friend's house and might have crossed paths with that car if she'd left the house earlier. We're both startled, and my sister tells me that a stern voice, what sounded like Mom, told her to shut that door. Mom was in her bedroom, but when we asked her, she hadn't said anything and left her room. Thing is, my sister had talked about dreams she had before this, where she would come home and speak to an old woman. One day my mom finds an old photo album and my sister instantly recognizes a picture of the old woman from her dreams. It was our great-grandmother, whose home we were staying in, and from what I've learned over the years, things like this are common for the women in my family. Even so, it still really freaks me out sometimes. That was by Some Dokin, D-O-K-I-N. Some Dokin, I don't know. But very cool. She was actually being, having discussions with her great-grandmother. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Number 18, not all ghosts are nice.
No kidding.
My family was having a giant party for my dad. The house was completely packed with friends and relatives, and two of my girl cousins were upstairs doing their own thing when suddenly they came rushing down. One of them is trembling and clearly shaken. They claimed that they thought they saw somebody in one of the rooms, but didn't think much of it. They continued on for a bit like nothing happened until one girl, the one trembling, said she saw a hand reach out and pull her leg. The adults basically say to just not go upstairs anymore for the rest of the night, so the party continues. Later that night, my baby cousin comes tumbling down the flight of stairs. Apparently everyone had lost track of her. She's completely fine, but she keeps looking up the stairs and pointing. She says she was pushed by a man up there. But of course, nobody was up there. We don't even know how she got up there herself. Yeesh. That was by Obi Mean Kenobi. Well, that's pretty freaky. Number 19, you will meet a tall, dark stranger. I was hiking through the remnants of a remote, long-abandoned town and the surrounding area to get as far into the woods as I was. You had to cross fallen trees over a creek 3 times. I just crossed the 3rd bridge and was about 5 miles in when something blue caught my eye just ahead of me. What I saw made me stop in my tracks. There was a man in his 60s at least, wearing blue satin pajamas and sitting in a tree.
Wow.
The closer I got to him, the louder he laughed. It wasn't a maniacal laugh, but it set off all the alarms in my head nevertheless. He also wasn't wearing any shoes, yet he looked well-groomed and cleaned. I gave him a friendly nod as I passed, and he just kept laughing, and then it stopped. I turned, and he was gone. There was no branch cracking, plants rustling, nothing. He was just gone. Still rubs me the wrong way. The area I was in was a pretty rough hike, very secluded. Not very many people venture as deep as I was that day. No idea what was going on there, and honestly, I'm not sure I ever want to find out. Yeah, that's got to be disturbing.
I would have to agree.
That was by Mr. Witch. Mr. Sam Witch.
Sam Witch.
First name Sam Witch.
Last name Witch. With mayonnaise in between.
That's right. Okay, let's get to the next one. How are we doing for time? Oh, 8:31.
yeah,
We still got a lot of time.
Ooh.
All right, number 20, the thing that walked through walls.
Take me off the camera, would you? I'll
Absolutely.
be right back.
I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. You'll just have to put up with me. Going solo here on the portal. Number 20, the thing that walked through walls. My mom has the best paranormal ghost experience that I've ever heard recounted to me. And it's impossible for me to find a believable, rational explanation for it. She's Kate. It happened when she was on holiday with her parents. They were on their way to Devon from Suffolk. And this journey took a long time and required an overnight stop. She was around 14 years old at the time, very precocious and willful, but enjoying the prospect of a small holiday with her mom and dad. They arrive at a hotel for the overnight stop, and Kate goes to relax for a bit in the TV alcove they have upstairs while her parents go for a drink at the bar. Happily watching TV, she's surprised to see a man poking his head into the alcove. That's got to be one of the creepiest things. Like, I don't know. That's so creepy. The only way she can describe how he looks is that he had very old skin. Despite being startled, she apologizes and offers the use of the TV to the man, who just stares back at her blankly and then leaves just as suddenly as he arrived. Well, Kate's a little freaked out by this, and upon reuniting with her parents, Before getting to their rooms for the night, she remembers telling them about the man, hoping she hadn't upset anyone. She expected oh, that's probably the man in room 3, but instead they seemed confused and perturbed. To use Kate's word, Kate has a room to herself. So she says goodnight to her parents and goes to bed. Once in bed, Kate starts to read her book, fully enveloped in the story, and then the strangest thing happens. I'm going to use the words she used when she first told me this story. I felt a man walk through the wall behind me to my left. I was so scared that I immediately hid under my bed covers and shut my eyes as hard as I could and wished for him to go away. I felt him slowly walk down the left side of my bed, around the end of the bed, and he continued in that direction until he went through the wall facing the right side of my bed. When she couldn't feel him anymore, she came out from under the covers and decided that she must be going crazy, letting her imagination get away with her. To this day, she's a very pragmatic, skeptical person, so she thought it was in her head and that was the end of it. Fast forward to 10 to 14 years later, and she's having dinner with her parents. This isn't a regular occurrence as she's moved to London, where she would meet my dad and later have me, but her parents still live in Suffolk, and they're talking about weird experiences that they've had or their friends have had. And my mom remembers this experience, leading with, I got myself all worked up in that hotel we stayed at thinking someone walked through the wall. Once her mom hears this, however, she goes white and has a very serious look on her face. She explains that she had the exact same experience. Upon discussing the night further, they work out that the thing walked through from my mom's room was the wall straight into her parents' room. Absolutely bone-chilling.
Wow. Yeah.
So they all experienced the weird man walking through the place.
There you go.
Huh. Yeah, I don't understand that whole peeking thing. That's creepy all by itself. Like, ghost or not, if somebody's peeking around the corner looking at you,
That's creepy.
that's all kinds of twisted.
Yeah.
That's not okay. That's just weird behavior. Not okay. So if it's a ghost, then it's even weirder because you're like, what the hell is it doing? But if it's a person, maybe that's more weird. I don't know. Anyway, peeking at people is really creepy. Number 21, Gone Forever. When I was a kid, I was playing outside at our farm with Dr. Fate action figure. I was in the middle of the lawn and I was throwing it up in the air and catching it, pretending he was flying. I go to throw it up and I swear it just disappeared and didn't come down. I thought I lost it, squinting in the sun or something, and searched the whole yard for it. No trees or bushes around and the house is too far away, so it couldn't have ended up on the roof or anything. There was nothing around me but freshly mowed lawn. It was my favorite toy, so I spent so much time searching that day, and even into the next, and I never saw it again. All I remember is that feeling of it flying away from me. That is creepy. Dr. Fate, that sounds familiar, like a comic book thing, yeah?
Yeah, but I don't recognize it.
Yeah. Number 22, let's get to the next one because we don't know what Dr. Fate is. But number 22, We Are Not Alone. I used to work at a place that had to be manned 24 hours a day. I handled sensitive documents and files, and if someone needed this information in the middle of the night, I'd have to fetch it for them or confirm that I had it. So security is really tight. I'm talking bars on the windows, multiple locked doors to get where I am. I think we've read this one before. But, again, if it's a repetition, my apologies. They would give me work to do during the night, but they underestimated how quickly I could get it done. So, like most nights, this one I finished my work in for 30 to 45 minutes and pulled out my phone and played games. No one else was in the building with me, and it was getting to be the last third of my shift when all of a sudden I hear a door close. I look at the security camera and see someone walking down the hall toward my room, and at first I thought it was just somebody who came in ridiculously early, so I turned around and waited for them to come in, but nobody came in. Now the hairs start rising on the back of my neck. I decide I've got to do something about this or I'll go crazy. This really isn't a big building, so I figure I'll just find the guy wherever he is, start checking offices and storage rooms. I come up empty-handed, but I do see that a fire door had shut. I go to try and rewind the camera, but the digital recording is password protected, and I don't know the password. The whole thing freaked me out. I mean, the way the person was walking down the hallway, like determined walk right to where I was. So I sit with my spine tingling for the last couple hours of my shift, and finally people start coming in. My replacement shows up, and I tell her what I saw. At this point, I figured I must have imagined the whole thing. I'm told to go home, and the manager and girl who replaced me will look over the camera. Well, after getting home, I called my manager and asked what was on the camera. They said that the video showed the fire door closing, but then the video froze for about an hour, and the next thing it records is me reopening the door. That's the end of the story. Wow. Just strange. And this is the interesting part is that this is someplace this guy works, or this woman works. Right. Guy or woman, you don't know, but they're there all the time. And this is, again, like a one-off event. Now, I will say that sometimes hauntings are not regular. Like, they may only occur in some locations, once a year or through a specific period each year. Like, there's something about the calendar that triggers that event, that whole... it sounds like a residual kind of event.
Yeah, and it definitely sounds like it's on date sensitive, too. So,
yes,
instead of just, like... Oh yeah, once a week I hear this crazy noise. Right. This is a specific date or set of dates.
Right. I think there's something to that. Yeah, I think it's just sometimes for whatever reason those energies just replay themselves, and it's hard to know what the trigger is. But it could be an astrological thing. It could be a calendar event, as Don suggested. I think that makes perfect sense. So number 23, astral projection. When I was 7 years old, I was in my bedroom doing some coloring because I live in a 300-year-old cottage. My room was only divided from my mom's room by a thin partition wall. No hallway or anything. My door opened straight into her bedroom, and I always used to leave it open when I was a little girl because it comforted me to know that she was near. So I look up into her supposedly empty bedroom, she's downstairs, and I see a Buddhist monk sitting cross-legged, smiling on top of her closet. It wasn't scary, just completely weird and out of place. He was there for maybe 10 seconds and then gone. I was a 7-year-old white kid in Wales in the 90s. I had never even seen a Buddhist monk. For years after, I just called him the Indian because I knew some Indian men wore bright silk robes. It wasn't until I started watching more TV that I realized that the person I had seen was a Tibetan-looking Buddhist monk. And I really think some guy meditated real good and found himself projected onto the top of a little Welsh girl's mom's bedroom wardrobe. Of all the random places. I'm working on the autobati. And then boom, into somebody's bedroom. And that was by Permalink, so we don't know who submitted that one. Number 24, the Telltale Foot. Hate those telltale foots, Don, huh?
Well, yeah.
Yep, My parents' house was brand new in a really nice subdivision, and I was 5 when we moved. I wasn't ever an anxious kid or anything, but I was terrified of the house. I refused to be upstairs alone, and I had really frequent panic attacks, and we lived there for 15 years before I moved out. And I was never comfortable. I live in a 75-year-old farmhouse now, and I don't get uncomfortable the way that I did in that house. Only one creepy thing actually happened to me there, though, and this is it. Last year, 32-week pregnant me went back to see my grandmother before I had this baby, and I was staying with my parents. My dad was traveling for work, so it was just my mom, my sister, and I. My mom had gone to the grocery store, and I was lying on the sofa. The way the living room is set up, you can see the reflection of the bottom 2 feet in the foyer and staircase in the TV. So, also the kitchen on the other side of the living room. So I'm lying there, messing around with my phone, and I hear the stairs creaking. I look up at the reflection in the TV, and I see a pair of bare feet standing in the foyer. Well, I think it's my sister, so I tell her to come and sit with me. and feel the baby kicking, but there's no reply. And the feet turn and walk towards the kitchen. So I sit up to say, hey, and there's no one there at all. My sister wasn't even home. She'd gone to work. My parents have moved closer now, and they're closing the sale of that house in the end of this month. They're a little sad, but honestly, I'm incredibly relieved.
Wow.
Yeah, that'll kill your love for a house in a hurry. If you don't like all that paranormal stuff. That was by Desperately Vintage. Well, sometimes those vintage houses have vintage spirits as well.
True.
Number 25, living in slow motion. When I was a little kid, I remember I was running around my room and I decided to go on the bed and jump from it. As soon as I jumped, suddenly, everything went into slow motion. It was like there was no gravity for some time. I got really scared, so I just closed my eyes and I slow landed back on the ground eventually. I'm absolutely sure it wasn't a dream. That was by X Resistance X. Now, I got to tell you, Don, have you ever had one of those situations where you are potentially in danger and some event is going on, but when it's the most dangerous, everything slows down to like a crawl? Have you ever?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you remember I tell this story about when I was on the freeway coming home from Spokane Valley, and it was snowing. We were coming up the hill into Coeur d'Alene, and that BMW goes by us and does that whole, the beep, 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 beep. And it was just so surreal. I could see every, angle of that car as it came around, and it just slowed down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I've had that too, and I think it's, I'm not thinking it's unique to me or anything. I think most of us have probably had those situations where you're in a dangerous spot. You're it's that whole life flashes before your eyes thing. And one situation that I can remember right off on top of my head is, well, there's a few of them. One time, this is a true story. Everything about it is absolutely true, so help me God. But it's a bizarre series of events. So what's happening, Don, is I'm taking my middle son, Oliver, when he was, he was about 2 at the time. Mm-hmm. And where we lived in Minnesota, we lived like a block away from the grocery store. So I just, took him. It was a summer day. And we just went for a nice walk, the block down the road to the grocery store. But there was this one dog that lived next door. It was like a beagle. And beagles are not tiny dogs, but they're not huge dogs. They're like in-between dogs. For some reason, this dog would always go bananas anytime we walked by, just rah, rah, rah. And he was always chained up, but he'd be jerking on that chain. Right. Now, this one day, this is exactly what happened. I'm walking hand in hand with my son, Oliver. And we're walking down the sidewalk. Sure enough, we get up and I'm thinking, that dog's going to do it again. And sure enough, charges out. But this time I had a premonition. That chain's going to snap. And all of a sudden, everything went into like bullet time in the Matrix. Like,
Right.
And the dog is jumping from a raised wall next to the sidewalk. And he's jumping in such a way that his mouth is going towards my son's throat.
Ooh, not good.
I mean, it was just like, and in one smooth motion, I grabbed my son's hand and yanked it back and up. And I had him swinging around, but as I was spinning, that dog was right in front of me, and I kicked it in the ribs with my other leg. It went rolling down, and I just continued to spin and put my child softly down next to me. So in his experience, I just did a little whirly with him, and it was kind of fun.
Right.
In my experience, that dog was going to rip his throat out.
Right.
But everything slowed down to such a case that I could pull him, and it was like someone else was driving, just suddenly, like.
Right.
And I saw the dog coming in slow motion, made the motion to jerk my son out of the way, and at the same point fired my foot into this thing's ribs and sent it rolling down the sidewalk, where it yipped and then ran back up in its yard and crawled, up to the house and just sat there.
Right.
But nobody was hurt. But it was one of those moments where time just went boom, and everything just went super slow. And it was this beautiful chorus of events that it was absolutely spontaneous. But you'd swear it was choreographed. It was just so perfectly executed. Now, I can only thank God, because I don't know what this dog would have done if it had actually gotten a hold of my child, but, just a devastating thing. But that's one of those points where the time just stopped, nearly stopped. Like everything was in the best way I can describe it is bullet time in the Matrix, where it's just like the bullets are coming and he's
Right.
ducking they're going past him, and that's what it felt like. It was just everything went super slow. So I think that's kind of a wild thing. And I think it's an experience many of us have had, but let's see what this story says. Number 25, living in slow motion. When I was a little kid, I remember I was running around my room. Oh, this is one I just read, right? So this is the jumping, and suddenly maybe there was a danger that the kid didn't really realize, and they went to that bullet time or something. But to this person, it actually sounds like the physics actually stopped too. Right? Because they talk about landing softly on the floor, like they jumped on the bed and should have had an impact landing, but it was just like somebody just lowered the child. So pretty cool. I think that's really awesome. Maybe it was a guardian angel kind of thing or whatever, but very cool. Number 26, leave the boy alone. All right. We only got time for a couple more here. So we lived near an American Civil War battlefield in the cemetery for a few years. There were trails through the woods that we would hike a lot. And one day we're looking at the cemetery and my wife hears me walk up to her. We were the only ones there, so she turns to say something. Well, I'm nowhere nearby. I'm on the other side looking at a cannon. From that day on, we started experiencing things that were just odd. My wife's car was always kept in the garage, and its inside mirror kept moving overnight. It wasn't drooping from a loose fitting. It would just be in random direction. Sometimes it'd be pointed up, other times sideways. Weird, but I just dismissed it as her bumping it while getting her purse or other items and getting out. When her car went into the shop the next morning, I go to work, and the mirror on my truck, which I parked in the driveway with the doors locked, was moved upward. Next morning, same thing, different direction. Well, she got her car back, and my mirror never moved again. And there were these goofy things, too, typical haunting stuff, like things moved in the sense of somebody behind you, etc. Also, our house is ranch style with the master bedroom on the first floor and our son's bedroom on the second right above ours. The flooring job was substandard, so we heard his every movement. He started going to the bathroom, which was down a hallway and halfway across the second floor from his room, a lot. Yet every time we'd go up there to check on him, he'd be asleep. So one night we decided to catch him coming from the bathroom for no reason other than make sure he was okay and tell him to quit stomping like an elephant, because come morning he never remembered going. We never were able to. Every time he'd go to the bathroom, one of us would head upstairs while the other stayed in bed. We wouldn't hear him return, and the other would find him asleep in his bed. The next morning we asked him if he was up and walking around last night, and his reply made me turn white as a sheet. He said no, but that for weeks something would walk up to and away from his door, but not open it. My wife turned to the room and said, "You're welcome to hang around, but please stop waking up to our son's room walking up to our son's room at night. You're scaring him." The footsteps never occurred after that. Although the car mirror thing kept going on, could she have been pranking me? Maybe. But one of the times my truck's mirror moved was after I'd gotten home, and I'd went to the store a couple hours later. The only set of keys to it have never left my pocket. Could our son be pranking us? Again, possible, but the darn flooring was so bad in one spot that even our cat walking over it caused it to squeak, making it nearly impossible for him to get back to his bedroom without us noticing. Poor bed. There again, claim your space, right?
Right.
They said, hey, you're knocking it off. You're scaring our kid. That's enough. And lo and behold, it stopped. Okay, so we'll read maybe just a couple more. This one's small. Number 27, a ghostly message. I must have been sleepwalking during our creepiest moment of my life because I don't remember it, but my family insists that it's true. On the night that my grandpa passed, I apparently woke up, walked into my mom's room, shook her awake, and told her that Papa loved her and wanted her to know that he would always watch over her. She was ushering me back to bed when the phone rang. That phone call was my grandmother telling my mom that Papa had passed. Right. Wow, that's beautiful. Nice to get a last message, yeah? All right, we're going to close with this one, number 28, Seeing Double. I own this really random photography book called 100 Young Americans that I bought around 2007, maybe earlier. I know I still own it because I recently reorganized my bookshelf just last week, though. I was getting into my car and I saw something sitting on top of the trunk of my car. I get out. It's a copy of 100 Young Americans just sitting on my hood. Why is that random photography book that I've literally never seen anyone else have sitting open on the hood of my car? Also, yes, my copy is safe and sound in my bookcase. There you go. Maybe there's a picture they want you to be aware of. Telling the story. Maybe so.
Wow.
I don't know, folks. It's the paranormal. There's not any rhyme or reason to it.
No rhyme, no reason.
None at all. But I think it's been a show, Don. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's been a show.
It's been a show, folks. We hope you've enjoyed this journey into the Paranormal Portal. Thank you to everybody here. We really appreciate your presence and your fantastic sense of adventure in joining Don and I on our shows. Right, Don?
That's correct, Brent.
We're missing some comments here. Ghost Magnet. Maybe they left right confusion. Oh, man,
You're not even caught up.
my comments are just filling in now from all of that time. Blub, 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 blub.
So, yeah,
Well,
you got a lot of new comments. You got.
I don't know what I've missed here, folks, but my chat is now filling in for the whole show since the left-right thing
Right.
on the teeth. So I don't know. If you guys made comments, I'm sorry I didn't see them, but I've been reading. It's been a busy show. There's one. Imagine if someone could tap into slow motion perception at will. Best football player ever. Yeah, no kidding.
Without a doubt.
That's true. And I think the Android, I think that's probably the case, though. I think it's, again, these are where we get a glimpse of more of our full potential, but we just don't live in that ability all the time. I think people could. You could probably learn to tune it up. I think that martial artists do when they're training, and you go faster and faster and faster. Your mind kicks into a different level, and you suddenly just feel things as much as you're seeing them. And it's an incredible experience. If you like scary stories and remind you that you're mortal, then tune in to Brent Thomas on the Paranormal Portal. Buzzacino, thank you. Well, I think that's what we got for you guys tonight. So I hope you guys enjoyed the journey. Thank you again so much. Please check out our other channel, the Paranormal Portal Pieces. We'd love to have you go over there and get subscribed. Check out the 10-minute, 15-minute clips of our 2-hour shows.
Right.
Hopefully you guys will learn a little bit more about what's in our archives, because I know some of you have gone back and watched a ton of them, but most of you haven't. So
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff back there.
tons of great interviews, great discussions, and we're just beginning to crack open that egg. So we're going to continue that, and Don will have our next podcast ready to go. That'll be going up on Sunday.
Yep.
So if you haven't already become aware of our podcast, please do so. Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, iTunes, every platform, you'll find the Paranormal Portal podcast.
There you go.
So that's it. Don, anything in closing?
Nope, just hi to Gigi. She just finally popped in.
Well, there you go. Welcome.
Fashionably very late.
Fashionably, extraordinarily late. All right.
And she says, Paranormal Portal fans page, too.
Oh, that's right. Paranormal Portal fans. Yep, we talked about it at the beginning of the show, but
Yes.
we'll talk about it again. Check out our Facebook pages, Paranormal Portal Radio and Paranormal Portal fans. So, all right. Well, then, all I can tell you guys is love you guys. Be good. Be nice. Help each other out. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day. And remember to laugh as much as you can. We'll see you tomorrow night on the Night Terrors. Until then,
Good night.
good night.